If you think you could never be vegan, you're in the right place. If you think there's something big that you'd really like to do, but that it's probably too late, you're in the right place. My name's Michelle Olander. I think there's never been a more important time to move in a vegan direction, so I'm here every single week to support you, offer actionable strategies, and cheer you on as you veg your best. Episode 173, Making Room to Veg Your Best in 2024. So we made it, kids. We made it to the end of 2023. And if you're listening to me around the day this episode drops, December 26, 2023, you made it to the end of the year. High five. We did it. At least I'm assuming I did. I'm actually recording the episode on Thursday, December 21. So who actually knows? But it is my plan. And maybe you have a lot of plans and ideas for the new year. Maybe your calendar's already filling up for 2024 and you've got maybe some resolutions or goals. Or maybe you're in a kind of numbed out, my only job was to get through this year sort of emotional space. Either way, or even both, because, even though I'm someone who's got, I guess I would say I always have a lot of things that I want to do and see and learn, I also have a few areas in my life where I've been more or less slogging and just trying to make it through the day, week, month, and year. Either way, I'm wondering if there are some things, though, that you're ready to leave behind in 2023. Maybe some thoughts or things or locations. Maybe there are some habits or items or even some people or some jobs or activities on your list or your calendar that you maybe want to consider saying, yeah, no. That's enough. So before getting too far ahead of yourself in terms of what you do want to take on or change or try or train for, speaking of which, did you listen to last week's episode, the distinction between try and train? It's pretty short. So if you didn't listen yet, it won't take up your whole day. I've actually decided to make the solo episodes a little more consistently short in the 15 to 20 plus minutes range. And then the Veg Your Best interviews with guests will be more like 45 minutes. But anyway, what I'm saying is that when I talk with all of you, when I hear from you, when my clients and listeners tell me what's going on, what they're struggling with in terms of going vegan or up-leveling their already vegan choices to something healthier or more whole food, or they're creating their vegan business plans and taking part and trying to decide what kind of activism or creative projects or fitness goals they've got. If you're just planning to enjoy your lives and your loved ones a little more, it can be daunting. It can be daunting because when you look at it, you are already more or less at 100% right now. 100%. You're already using all 24 hours of your days right now. You're already living in your space. You're already showing up at your work or your caregiving. Whatever else you're doing, your life is already fully booked. So if there's anything you think you want or want to change, if there's any way you want to rebalance things or something you want to learn how to do, you, my friend, you're already fully booked. Even if you've been in one of those seasons of your life where you might argue with me and you might say, actually, I'm not doing all that much right now, Michelle. I would like to suggest that you are actually doing a lot. And you are already currently fully booked in your life. 100% of your life is 100% every day. Every day you have 100% of your day, whether you stay in bed or you are in front of a television, or you've got the flu, or you're rehabbing from a joint replacement, or you're ferrying kids around to school and sports, or working at the pinnacle of your career, whatever, you are 100% booked. You use all 100% of your day, your week, your month, your year, until, well, you know until when. So over the next few weeks, you'll be hearing about all kinds of new year, new you, cool ideas, bucket lists, things you should be trying, doing, learning. And let's do this thing. And I love all of it. I do. But I also know, and I want to remind you, you are already fully booked in your current life. I'm already fully booked in my current life. So if I'm really going to add a new focus or skill or habit or activity, if I'm going to change something, I'll need to reallocate. You'll need to reallocate. You know, in my earliest, I don't think we've ever talked about this on the podcast. In my earliest adult job, I was a banker. I know, you didn't see that coming. So I worked in a bank, fresh out of college, with my degree in Russian, so helpful. And my job was to use my non-existent experience to help really quite high net worth folks with the investment products at the bank I was working at. And if you think rates are high for mortgages now, in 1983, mortgage rates had really just gotten a little bit lower, and they were around 13% for a 30-year fixed rate mortgage in the U.S. Anyway, I would help the bank's clients with their financial portfolios. And depending on your age or work situation or priorities with family, you might want to rebalance your portfolio to avoid your risk, or maybe to be more aggressive and take on a little more risk. But maybe also there were choices to be made about more tax-advantaged investments, or longer maturity dates, or more liquid investments. So, you know, we don't need to go on and on. But the point being that my clients typically had a fair amount of money. But it's true that whether you have zero money and only bills, or you have millions, everyone has a portfolio. Everyone has a financial portfolio. They have the actual number of dollars, pounds, euros, yen. They have their investments that they have. They have their liabilities and their debts. Whether it's a lot or not, it's just the reality of your current savings, investments, and loans. So it's just data. And maybe you think it should be more. Maybe you think it should be different. But your portfolio is what it is. Your portfolio is 100%. It's just that, 100%. It's the pie chart, the circle. And from there, with the knowledge that you get from looking at that pie chart, that 100%, you can make choices. I'm looking at my pie chart. Maybe I need to save more. Maybe I need to invest more. Maybe I need to spend more or donate more. Maybe I need to charge more for my services or get another job and earn more. Maybe when I look at my portfolio, I learned that I could retire now or work part-time. Maybe I could pay off debts or take a vacation or rent or own or move or downsize. So not to get into the weeds on this, but you have a portfolio. If you're 10 and you get a weekly allowance and $5 for Mont Blanc on holidays, and you look in the couch cushions for spare change, you have a portfolio. You have the 100% of your financial situation. Anyone listening to this podcast has a portfolio. It's simply the 100% view, the circle pie chart of your finances, and it's just data. Your life is also 100% allocated. Knowing your financial portfolio may allow you to evaluate all kinds of things. Knowing how you're currently spending 100% of your life also allows you to evaluate and make choices. Now, here at the end of the calendar year, I'd like to suggest to you that accepting and honoring and noticing how you are currently filling your life is really important before you think or go very far on making any changes. In coaching, we talk about doing evaluations all the time, and it sounds, I have been around it so long that I don't always hear it that way, but I know for everybody else, it sounds kind of dreadful and tedious and dispiriting. I know, but evaluations are really, the ones we do, super easy, and you don't have to look at everything. You don't have to look at things you don't want to look at, because the magical truth is doing evaluations. Whatever you do the evaluation on, it actually spills over into everything in your life. And even the process of the evaluation, it's easy. It's not a time study. Have you ever been encouraged to do a time study? If my life depended on it, I don't think I could actually do a time study on my daily, weekly, monthly life. I couldn't. Coaching evaluation is always just 3 questions. What's working well? What's working well? Pick out a few things. What's not working well? Just pick out a couple things. It doesn't matter. What might I like to do differently? What's working well? What's not working well? And what might I like to do differently? You'll get so much purchase and you'll get so much clarity from just asking yourself to scribble out those 3 questions. In coach training, in the work I do with my clients, we always do this, and it's so helpful, even if there is that elephant in the room that people just don't want to discuss. We can concentrate on something else that we are ready to deal with, and it helps. It helps so much. Now, maybe you have a few ideas right now that are starting to percolate what you might want to leave behind in 2023. So, in your current real life, what's working well? What's working well? Okay, and now what's not working that well? All right, don't spend tons of time on it. Now, what would I like to do differently? Now, you can spend hours asking yourself these questions, but I would like to offer that doing a little often is really, really helpful. And you'll stop dreading that you're going to have to deal with something that you really aren't ready for if you just do this often with the little things, with the obvious things. It's like decluttering. First, you get rid of all the trash. Then you get rid of all the broken things. Then you get rid of all the things that are, maybe clearly don't belong in your life anymore and can be donated or can be recycled. So you start with what's easy. When you go vegan with the Vedge Your Best method, you start by looking at where you are already living in a way that you're making vegan choices and plant-based choices. You start with what's working. So in your current real life, what's working well? What's not working that well? What would I like to do differently? I've heard so many great ideas for this end of the year from some of you. And some of the things listeners have told me they're going to leave in 2023 are, where's my list? Bad attitude with an in-law. You know who you are. Cheap cookies from the gas station. Old clothing that doesn't fit anymore. Writing, this is a good one, writing notes and lists on scrap paper from the recycling bin. Now, this is not my husband's thing that he said, but he does this. My husband does this, and it comes from a very ethical, environmentally responsible place. But when you write your notes on stuff you've pulled out of the recycling bin, they just look like trash, so they get thrown away. So trying to use your calendar or your phone for some of these things, that's some of the things we're trying to leave behind is writing to-do lists on scrap paper. Now, maybe your vegan journey is just beginning, but you're already in a place where you're ready to leave behind wearing fur or eating veal or lamb. Or maybe you're ready to leave behind that habit of not asking for some vegan options at the restaurants you visit and just assuming, they've got nothing. Maybe you're ready to leave that behind. Or maybe there is some fantasy or rule or idea that you've been carrying around for decades that you're ready to leave in 2023. And I for sure have one of those. I was just messaging with one of our recent guests here, Carly from Consciously Clueless podcast. I was messaging her on Instagram, and you can always message me on Instagram. Did you know that? I get a lot of marvelous conversations going over there. But anyway, we were on Instagram, and I told her that forever I've had this thought in my head that if I'm going to really get my work written and produced and into the world and really live up to my potential, I need to go on some sort of a solo retreat somewhere on an island or anyway, somewhere I don't see anyone for a week or more. And this month, I noticed how that thought came up for me and how true it seems. And I was like, what? First of all, that's never going to happen. Never. I'm married and I'm a mom and a grandmother and a friend, and I want to be connected with everyone. And if I'm honest, I do have several hours most days with no one around. So what the heck am I even talking about? This is some sort of artistic, romantic fantasy I've been carrying around and using as an excuse and as a procrastination tactic. And also using it's a thought that the people I love most in this world are somehow an inconvenience or holding me back. That's not true. Anything I want to accomplish in this world is because I value those people. So 100%, that thought, I don't want to bring it into 2024. I'm leaving it in 2023. Now you, my Vedge bestie, what's coming up? What's coming up for you? Before you add in anything or take on anything or commit to anything, I'd like you to consider divesting something from your portfolio. Two big examples in my life were during 2020. And during that period of time, somewhere along the line, I decided, I'm not going to drink for a while. And then I decided to only drink when I was out of the country. Have you heard this from me yet? I only ever drank wine with dinner, but for almost 3 years, I think it's been almost 100% true. I only have wine with my dinner if I'm with my husband on vacation in another country. I know. I'm not necessarily recommending it, but it's actually given me a lot of extra bandwidth and energy, and it's been fun. But the other thing was TV. Early in 2020, I stopped watching TV. First, stopped watching the news because it was awful. I think I've talked about this on the podcast before. The news was awful, and it did nothing to help me love my fellow man and woman. So I stopped that, and then I stopped watching really all streaming and programming, etc. I only watch videos for trainings. I never put the actual TV on. I've actually forgotten how to use the remotes on it. And I only watch videos for trainings or educational things that I've signed up for. So those are two things that I left behind. Only recently, and we'll talk about it next year when we talk about some of the things I'm enjoying. This past fall, I started watching one television show, and I'll tell you about that. And I'm actually going to talk more about some of the things I've left behind and made room in my life with, because I learned an awful lot, and I've learned more as time has gone by. But as for today's subject of leaving things behind in 2023, those are the two kind of bigger things I've left behind. And they gave me really a lot more space and creativity and time to do those other things I wanted to do with. So I'm also this year leaving a lot of old possessions and stuff behind in 2023. I've always tried, I've talked about this too. I've always tried to have everything on hand in our home for when friends and family were with us. And that got even more true during the pandemic. I had this kind of fantasy of our home being like a CIA MI5 safe house with anything anyone could ever need in the pantry or the linen closet. And this is no longer what I want. So we've been using things up and donating, and I only wear the same few things anyway, most days. So I'm embracing that and leaving a lot of those more aspirational clothes and shoes that really don't get worn. I'm leaving a lot of them in 2023. And also some Christmas decorations that I don't even like and have never used. Those were already snapped up at the hospice shop. What about you? My Vedge Your Bestie, what's coming up? Before you take on before you take on a lot, but even before you take on a little, what would you like to leave behind in 2023? Old catalogs or books? Books are hard for me. A few years ago, I left Christmas cards behind, and I have not sent them in quite a while. Friend of the show, Susie. Hi, Susie. Susie told me she released some old, out-of-date sports equipment and owner's manuals that she knows she can just look up online if she needs them. Maybe there's something in the back of your fridge. I just cleaned our fridge after we got back from Italy last week, and we'll talk about that too. But, oh my gosh, it was time. Some vegan cheese, olives, and strange grains, among other things. Those are not going with us into 2024. And after reading her book, To Die For, by Alden Wicker, who was our guest a couple of weeks ago, after reading To Die For, which talks about the toxins in so much of our clothing, I'm making an extra big effort to avoid PVC and cheap items and T-shirts and toys that once upon a time I would definitely have purchased impulsively for one of my kids or grandkids. And I'm leaving those behind in 2023. So make some room in your fully booked life. Make some white space so you can then rebalance your life portfolio. And please, I'm so interested in this. Tell me what comes up. Tell me what you're thinking of leaving behind. Stuff, habitual thoughts, out-of-date fantasies, nasty, fuzzy things in the back of your fridge, activities that don't fill you up, people who bring you down. So many things. Let yourself have a little extra room before you take on this new year. And Happy New Year, kids. Happy New Year. I wish you and your loved ones every single blessing of health and happiness and fellowship and safety and peace and love in this new year. Let's make some room in your fully booked life so you can, veg your best. Veg Your Best podcast production, music, and editing by Charlie Weinshank. Thanks, Charlie. Before you go, it would mean so much to me and the Veg Your Best team if you would hit subscribe, leave us a 5-star review, or share with someone you think might be interested. Something about algorithms, it helps bump us up a little in the rankings, and that's the best way to help others find the podcast and for us to find our audience. So, until next week, make it easy and veg your best.